Hello, I'd like to welcome you to News from the California Prune Orchards. My name is Don Zay, and I'm Executive Director of the California Prune Board. I'll be your moderator for the panel. California prune growers and handlers are unabashed about their commitment to holding the top spot as the purveyors of the world's finest prunes and array of prune products for healthy snacking, home cooking, baking, culinary, and food service. What we know well is that it starts in our orchards, where growers are constantly working on their craft to produce the most consistently flavorful and high quality prunes. One of the great things about so many of our growers is that they enjoy sharing their passion for prunes with anyone who will listen. And we have three of those growers here with us today. I'm pleased to introduce Nick McKelly of McKelly Enterprises, John Taylor of Taylor Brothers Farms, and Joe Turkovich of Joe Turkovich Farms. Gentlemen, welcome. Let's jump right into this discussion. COVID-19 has made 2020 one of the most unusual and challenging years that we can remember. And the impact of food and agriculture, of course, has been significant. How has the pandemic affected you as a prune grower and the broader prune industry in California? Joe, we'll start with you.
Well, there's no question it's impacted our operations both directly and indirectly. And I think the impact's been less on the farm because we're able to separate our workers in the field easily, keep them distanced. That part wasn't the problem. I think where I personally saw the most issues were related to harvest, because we knew at harvest time, the crop has to come in and we got to figure out a way to do it. And we were dealing with, these fires in California and smoke in the valley and a lot of heat. And then on top of that, having to wear masks to protect ourselves from COVID. That was high anxiety coming into the harvest, but we got through it. Where I think it was more problematic, maybe John can talk a little bit about this, is the processing plants, but at times they had to shut down. They couldn't staff at 100%, trying to move employees from one location to another because of quarantine issues. I see this, and there's no question, this is raising the cost of us, our production costs this year. And we're hoping.
Our focus was just trying to keep everybody healthy, and so we could, as Joe said, get through harvest. And then also in our processing plants to, maintain the health so we wouldn't get shut down for a couple of weeks. One of the side factors of COVID that everybody was, reduced to staying in place at home, that I think that kind of helped our prune industry a bit in the sales side. There was an interest as people were cooking more at home, and prunes being a good shelf stable product, that part was one of the underlying positive effects of COVID in the U.S. That we noticed. You cannot afford to have that disruption in the supply chain. So we were very conscientious of spacing our employees out at in the break time, in the sorting tables and that. And in the field side, as Joe said, we were all very, very conscious and worked hard at it. It was a little unnerving at times when you've got to wear a mask all day and you're outside in the hot sun in August. It gets to be a little bit trying.
Yeah. It seems as though agriculture always has its challenges, and trial by fire, as they say. You guys have become pretty adept at innovating and making changes where you have to deal with the situation. This was just more of that, but exponentially greater.
I think our workforce understood that too, and everybody collaborated well on it, and they all worked. Hey, let's all keep ourselves healthy here. We don't want to be down and out, as we never do with the flu or whatever. You want to keep moving, want to get to your job and want to enjoy life. And so it's kind of been a little bit of a struggle for us to enjoy it as much as we would.
Sure. Nick, how about you?
Well, I would say, yeah, certainly as John just spoke to, as you're starting to put some of these new procedures in place just for safety, you didn't have any pushback from any employees because everybody's concerned about, their own safety and the health of their families. But certainly, some of the things, during harvest was when, it was most important, sometimes gloves, of course, everybody with masks, but you're in more close quarters. And especially in the office and around the shop and the facilities, you had to restrict access to essential personnel only. And, gloves, masks, sanitizing stations wherever you could at all entrances and exits. And, again, of course, it increases costs, but, once you started to put them in place, everybody got used to it, and it wasn't that hard to adapt to. So,
well, there is no silver lining to this situation, that's for sure. But from a prune grower standpoint, from a food standpoint, unless you were exposed heavily on the food service side, it has generally been an opportunity to share more with more people your product and the good things about it, and that is certainly the case in with prunes. From a healthy eating standpoint, people are looking for ways to improve immunity and just generally stay healthy. And as was mentioned, being at home a lot, they're getting more innovative and creative with their cooking. And so it's been a great opportunity for all of us to contribute to their well-being and health. And hopefully that carries through once we're all on the other side of this pandemic. I'd like to now maybe move on to a next question. We'll target this to Nick to start. California prunes this year overall experienced a short crop, approximately 45,000 metric tons. And with production being inconsistent depending on the region. And the good news is, though, that quality and sizing were excellent, as we generally are known for. Nick, talk us through how this year went for you at the McKelly farm, and what are you doing in your orchards now?
Right. So, this year we did have a shorter harvest because it was a lighter crop. I'm certainly in one of those regions where we had a little bit of a lighter set this year. And it was a bit inconsistent from orchard to orchard. But in some ways it does benefit us as growers. For one, we spend less time sizing the fruit and as far as going through and thinning from tree to tree. So that ensured that we had a really great size this year. So large size fruit. It also helped to make sure it increased the sugar content of the fruit. So though we had a lighter crop, certainly think we delivered a superior product to the consumer this year.
And how long have, excuse me, I'm sorry, how long have you been growing prunes, Nick?
So I've been farming for over 20 years now myself. I'm family's been here for almost 100 years, and prunes were one of the very first commodities that they grew. So been around a little while.
Yeah. John, I mentioned the regionality of our production inconsistency this year. You grow prunes at least in some of your orchards near where McKelly's grow prunes. Did you have the same kinds of challenges that they did?
Yeah, we were relatively the same on that. We had nice sizes. We did have to, there's been more field sizing, which actually works to our advantage. Even though we had a short crop, we had good size. When you have the sizers on the back of the machines, this helps take out any mummies or any small, real shriveled up stuff. So, as California farmers go, we're cleaning it up in the field and, get a better product going into the dryer. So that brings more consistency in our drying because our sizes are more even. And the sugar quality was just exceptional this year. I mean, we were picking at 27, 28 bricks to start. By the end of the season, we were clear up to 32, which just helps in all general qualities. The storability of the prunes, the dryaways were excellent. So it just makes for a good piece of fruit overall. It's really hard. This was, I'd say, an exceptional year for prune production or prune producers in California. Like a premium wine year, we had a premium prune year.
Joe, your farm is southwest of Nick and John's, and oftentimes Yolo County is the name of the county. Oftentimes Yolo seems to be an anomaly, or it stands out from what the rest of the region might be doing. How did it fare this year?
Yeah, right. Yeah, my family's been in this prune business for over 60 years, and you know, seen it all weather-wise, and you know, this year was no exception. There's doesn't seem to ever be a average year. You know, it's always a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler, or something. But the one thing we have every year that we can count on is consistent sunshine, and that's why our crops are so consistent. I echo what I heard there. You know, in general, in my area, the crops were down from maximum. You know, they were moderate crops. On my own farm, we ran sizers. The industry's moved in recent years to more consistency among the larger sizes and eliminating the really small sizes completely. So prunes have a natural bell curve of sizes that they'll produce. If you prune them harder, you shift that bell curve to the larger sizes, and if you don't, they move to the smaller sizes. So California is recognized for having that consistency oriented more towards the larger sizes. It costs us more money to produce those prunes because we do more to manage that crop than other places. But in the end, the fruit's more consistently meaty and thick, and you get a good eating product.
Mm-hmm. Well, as the organization, the California Prune Board, having part of its responsibility collecting all the statistical data for the industry, I can tell you that the size ranges are a top priority for this industry, and that we are known for the medium and large size prunes. And inventory management is also something that we take very seriously, so that when we do have a short crop, the challenges to the marketplace are kept to a minimum, so that our trading partners can still continue to get what they need from us. And this year is no exception. If anything, the inventory has come down a little bit, which is generally a good thing overall. Globally, we hope the same thing is happening. So moving on to a little bit of a different kind of question for John. John, in an interview a couple of years ago, you mentioned a particular professor of horticulture who sort of made a mark on the way you approach things, saying that he challenged you to grow the best fruit possible with the least amount of impact to the environment. Tell us more about that, and how has that affected the perspective you have on your prune crops that you grow every year?
Well, let me say first, I was probably raised in a prune orchard. From what my father says, I was out there at 2 years old. I was more of a consumer at that age than I was a picker, as the whole family was at that time in my life. We were, you know, knocking prunes out of the trees with knocking poles and mallets, and you know, then we'd pick them all up. But I kind of ate my way through the orchard more so. But I'm an organic grower, and we have been for 30 years now. So I met Dr. Dan Stridham many years ago, and he'd always challenged us on growing the trees that you want to capture sunlight. So you space them at a closer distance. You want to catch as much sunlight because that's, and to minimize your, you know, or try to manage your inputs, that you're not over fertilizing or under. So we you know, do the compost, we do the cover crops, we'll do, you know, fish foliar feeding and that, but you're always, our point of view is you're strengthening the soil to strengthen the tree. And that's organic philosophy. And I think as California farmers go, they're doing more of this. You know, there's a lot more soft materials out there for insect control. They're planting cover crops, one to benefit the soil, one to capture carbon. Another one is also bee-friendly crops, because that's another part of our industry that's hardworking, and we got to take care of them, especially for the state of California. There's a lot of bees that are used in the industry, not just on prunes, but with almonds. So you kind of manage things so you flow with the environment. You don't try to battle it. You try to make it work for you. And so this is what our philosophy has been on our farm, and try to do that. But I see it lending itself into the conventional growers. Everybody's aware of the insecticides, the fungicides, and they're managing those in softer materials that perform well. So that's always a plus side as California is as an industry. And we're running into issues into Europe where they're worried about glyphosate and that. And so I know as an industry, we're searching other ways to deal with weed control in areas that are going to impact regulations, I guess, or regulations are going to impact us. So I think we're a very forward-looking group of growers in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I think of sustainability and how people define it, oftentimes it's focused on environmental protection, but the true definition really also focuses on economics and the social aspect of it, from how you treat your workers all the way through a whole variety of other policy-oriented things. And balancing those can be one of the greatest challenges. Nick, how do you guys approach this whole issue in California being such a regulated state?
Well, yeah, I mean, it certainly is difficult, as you know, we're constantly shackled with a lot of new regulations, laws, and then of course here in California we have a rising minimum wage every year. So look, if prune farming was easy, I guess everybody'd be doing it, but it is a challenge. I think, unfortunately, sometimes when we've had to hire somebody or delegate duty just to keep up with regulations, or a consultant to make sure that we're doing the very best we can to keep up with FSMA, which is our National Food Safety regulations. And then also, environmentally, we work closely with the Ag Department to make sure that we're compliant and our workers are trained to handle chemicals and equipment. And so those are things that are evolving and changing from year to year that we just have to adapt to. And that's with all farmers in California, we're constantly having to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Joe?
Yeah, I think I'd add that, we have in America this a national system, we call it cooperative extension, that does research at the university level with the idea of in mind of aiding both the public interest and growers. And then that information gets disseminated down to the grower. Field trials are done, et cetera. So this cooperative extension system, it has never been replicated at the same level anywhere else in the world. And it's one of our big advantages. And it allows us to go out there and test, these softer materials that John talked about to verify their efficacy and their safety for the public. And so we're always leading the way on that. And California is the hub of all that research. And the Prune Board sponsors a lot of that. And to be honest, the other industries, the other countries just ride our coattails. They're not spending the money or doing the work we're doing. So that is making us, we're always a few years ahead of the other countries in terms of not only understanding what we're doing, but making sure that it's safe for the public at large.
Mm-hmm. I would say that along with our partnership with the Dried Fruit Association, now known as Safe Food Alliance, we take the whole issue of MRLs obviously very seriously, as anybody does that's shipping food abroad. And prunes have a remarkable success record in terms of maintaining a level on MRLs. Have been kept to a complete minimum. So it's a constant struggle, and as they are lowered in various countries and debated in other countries, we try to stay way ahead of it, not only in just the matter of factness of what the levels are, but in how we are growing prunes and trying to eliminate some of the additional inputs that might end up causing a problem at some point in a marketplace. And let's face it, less inputs, less cost, which is good for everybody. So yeah, it's a very important part of the whole sustainability equation. I'll move on to a question for Joe. Kind of continuing on with the discussion, Joe, about innovation and science. And as you mentioned, we fund a lot of crop researchers. We do nutrition as well, but you've kind of been on the leading edge of that in advocating the relationship with the University of California and other major institutions, USDA, CDFA. What are some of the big things that have contributed to the success of California prunes over the years that have been born out of the science and the discovery that we've been so curious about, and you have personally?
Yeah, I would say, and I think I touched on it, is that anything new that's positive about, that helps the industry, I'd say 90% of it comes out of California research. And we fund it directly. Growers we tax ourselves. So it's an extra cost of production for us. But, some of the things that have come out of it over the years is, for example, we've been able to introduce predaceous insects that attack some of our pests so that we've been able to eliminate some of our sprays here. And that's research that's specific to California and aids California directly, but a lot of our other research is applicable elsewhere. We're leading, continuing to lead the way in terms of plant breeding. I don't know that anyone else has an active prune breeding program. And, we're hoping that someday we'll be able to generate some really interesting new varieties for the trade. It could just go down the list, but I would say in general, our research has migrated somewhat from what was originally primarily field research to aid the grower to now it's still aiding the grower, but it's got more of a bent towards the public interest in terms of food safety, of course, and environmental safety and work safety. So we are looking at any number of issues from carbon, footprint to, of course, pesticides and all those things, so that, our workers are safe, our workers are the best educated, the public is eating a super clean, healthy product.
Nick, I know in a discussion we had leading into this panel, you mentioned nutrition research and how keen you are on what we're doing. Maybe you want to comment on that.
Sure. I think, as I mentioned, I'm a third generation farmer, and, prunes are one of the very first commodities my family started growing when they moved here to California. And I think what's so exciting to see in this last, several decades is that the Prune Board has invested in a lot of this research into nutrition. We've already seen some of it bear out, and I think surprising to a lot of us, really how beneficial it is. And for those of us prune farmers who we really truly believe that the prune is a superfruit. And I think as we go into the future, it's going to be exciting to see the consumers realize that as well as more and more of these studies come out. And so, for those of us who, this is what we do, this is our craft, and it's exciting to see that because we work so hard on it, and growing prunes is a challenge. It isn't easy, but those are some of the things that keep us excited, I think, and motivated to stay in the prune business.
I think the aspect of how much our industry has, how much dollars over the last 20 years, how much we've committed to investing in the nutrition. Nobody else has done what we've done, and how many dollars we've put out there for promotion and advertising throughout the world. Nobody can hold a candle to us. We reach down to the consumer. Maybe it's through our processors, but as an industry, we're always reaching out there and promoting ourselves and guaranteeing that supply chain will be continuous and for the quality that goes forward. The research thing is immense, and as Joe said before, there's people that are just riding our coattails on that. This nutritional research is just it's very, very in depth, and it provides a lot of quantitative research that's bearing fruit for the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no question that I think you could consider us as reinventing ourselves in some ways for the generations that saw prunes, and then there are many generations that haven't experienced prunes or maybe had a perception of prunes, certainly here in the United States and in other select places around the world. The key really is getting a prune in someone's mouth and letting them enjoy the flavor and the consistency of a California prune. And so bringing new consumers into the fold and letting them experience what we all know so well is critical to the future of prunes in general, and certainly California prunes. And I think all of you, clearly, and the rest of the industry are glad to be doing it, as costly as it can be. So getting ready to wrap this up, I'm going to ask you to kind of give me a lightning round kind of response here. Based on all that we've talked about and what we haven't talked about, what would you say sets California prunes apart from the rest? John?
Well, I think it's our flavor profile, our consistency that we bring to the marketplace. I mean, every load of prunes is pretty much consistent with the first one you bought. They're just a value-added product to the consumer, and I think as Don said, if you get one in your mouth, you're going to enjoy them. They're nature's candy, and they're just a delicious piece of fruit. I think more people need to eat them.
Nick?
Well, I'd say, here in California in the Sacramento Valley, we have an abundance of water, an abundance of sunshine, nutrient-rich soil that we grow this fruit in. And we have some of the strictest food safety laws in the whole world, and it ensures that the consumer is going to get the sweetest, safest product that they can.
Joe? Final word.
Yeah, three things that come to mind. Absolutely, we have the most consistent quality year in and year out. The other thing I think has been touched on is inventory management. We're the one producer that really helps the trade ensure that they're going to have product every year. Some countries they blow their inventory out, and then if they have a short year, they're just stuck. And we're the ones that keep the product on the shelves for the trade. And then finally is we're the ones that are doing all the prune promotion, and we're doing it not just in the United States, we're doing it all over the world. And so we're promoting not only the quality attributes, but the nutritional aspects. And so those are the things that set California apart.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for being such great ambassadors for California Prunes, and to you, the viewers, thank you for taking the time to listen to this panel. We do hope you'll reach out to us with any questions that you have. We appreciate the fact that you all have a choice when it comes to the prunes you buy. And we just ask that you continue to give us an opportunity to prove to you that there is a difference between premium California prunes and the rest. Thank you very much.